2021 has been kind to many, a second year of the debilitating COVID-19 pandemic with its lockdown regulations and uprising, which has in some regards further divided an already divided country, and a collective breakdown in mental health can be felt rather across the country, and in some aspects it has not been kind. Dr. Oscar van Heerden is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Fort Hare University. He joins us now after he had written or has written a thought piece in terms of what kind of questions we should be asking ourselves at this time of the year. So you say, can we conjure up, or you ask the question, can we conjure up the Christmas spirit without guilt when comfort, joy, equality and hope seem so far away for so many people? Dr. van Heerden.
Yes, indeed, Dudu. Good afternoon to your viewers. I asked the question, you know, I think what I'm trying to get at with the article is to say, in as much as we all should enjoy the festive season, we should all celebrate the ending of a year and a triumph over the COVID pandemic yet again, even though some have succumbed to the disease. We've done well as a country, but I do ask the question, how do we go into next year, particularly those of us who are part of the haves, and what are we going to do to try and address or redress the past imbalances, because there are many people currently who is going into this festive season that is not able to put food on the table.
When you speak of the haves versus the have-nots, you also mentioned that in their hardships, it will continue. The history of this, our beloved country, is such that inequalities, poverty and unemployment levels will not and cannot be reasonably expected to be corrected in 27 years when you speak of addressing and redressing.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I make the point, which is an obvious one, and that is that some of the social ills, some of the social challenges that we face in society today is not something that has just happened post-1994. It's not something that came about in the democratic era. It has been with us for a very long time. Colonialism and apartheid has contributed its fair share to ensure that we are at these levels that we are, and that we can't reasonably expect all of that to have been corrected within 27 years. And what I do talk of is an active citizenry of sorts to say we all need to put shoulder to the wheel, and we need to, I think 2022 should, in fact must be a year where we as South Africans strongly consider issues of redress, three issues in particular to do. I mean, I think we need to ask the question, what is a meaningful social compact that we can implement in South Africa that is going to address some of these historical injustices and so forth? Two, we need to talk possibly of a wealth tax or a sovereign tax that comes from the haves and the wealthy, again, to redress. And yes, it doesn't have to be managed by government. I know there are concerns about corruption and so on. It can be independently managed as long as it's accountable to Parliament, for example. And three, I think as we go into next year, we need to strongly consider a comprehensive basic income grant. Again, in the absence of employment creation, in the absence of an economy growing, we have to begin to say, can we provide at least the basics in the form of an income? This is a trend globally, particularly post the COVID-19 pandemic last year, as well as this year, where many countries, including countries comparable to South Africa, decided to expand their social welfare systems in order to accommodate the most needy and the most marginalized groups.
Dr. van Heerden, I wonder then, with the context that you have just provided, right, why this invokes a feeling of guilt. You say, so does this mean we must feel guilty as the haves in a country that is the most unequal in the world? Absolutely and emphatically yes. Why guilt?
Guilt because we seem to want to think that the social problem is a government problem. We want to make the argument quite often that we pay taxes, and therefore the problem of social inequality, of poverty and unemployment is a government problem. And I'm saying that when we look around to other countries in the Far East, as well as Western democracies, it is civil society, it is organized labor, government, and the private sector, all that work in unison to try and make sure that the country is on a footing that is actually good for everyone and all citizens. And it's not just a government thing. It's not just a government problem. And I'm saying that as the haves, as the wealthy, there is an element of guilt. Guilt when we see, for example, the July protests and how that took a nasty turn. Guilt because we abdicated the responsibility of providing for the have-nots only to government and not to ourselves. And I think that there is that element of guilt that we need to address.
Thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts with us. His article is online. Dr. Oscar van Heerden is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Fort Hare University.